Okay, so we're gonna call the Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee meeting to order now at 5:33 p.m. Then first item up for the agenda. What is it? We have school petition. Homeschooling. We have a homeschooling petition, Mr. Delady.
Sarah, can I share my screen? Can somebody make me? Oh,
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, I did that before.
All right. I have to be careful now because. Okay. If I opened up the wrong screen, I'd be sharing private information. All right, can you all see the homeschooling proposal?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this one came in a few weeks ago. It has all of the components of the required petitions. It's from the Kadadri family. Qualifications of the teachers. One of the parents is college educated from North Shore Community College and Boston Architectural College in 2005, Mountain West College in Utah in 2003. One works in the hospitality industry. The curriculum, they go into details regarding language arts. They're using the 180 days of math, which is a sort of a boxed homeschooling program, 60 minutes, 5 days a week. History and geography, they named their book here, and these are the topics that are covered: American history, lives of America's founding fathers, the history of Plymouth, so on and so forth. They're also using the boxed science curriculum, 180 days of science for second grade. Scheduled science is 36 minutes for 5 days a week. So that does meet the requirements. They have an art and drawing component, and they have a health and physical education component. Not a lot of technology, but there is some. They're going to work a little bit on behavior, and they address the periodic standardized testing requirement.
Well, if they're able to do all this health stuff they put in physical education with these rates going up.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, they have swimming, cycling, yoga, ballet lessons, and intro to human growth and development. So do we have any questions?
So it's just one second grader.
There's one second grader.
Okay. And they were in first grade kindergarten, they were in our district before?
They're currently in one of our schools right now and waiting for approval. So if we get a motion to move and then we vote on this in January, then we would technically do a transfer to homeschooling the day after the school committee meeting in January.
Okay. Any other members have questions?
I have a quick question.
Are the rates going up for homeschooling?
Well, last month we had 11 petitions. Last year I only had 2 starting in October, and I think we had about 3 or 4 before that. So it didn't actually go up. In a lot of other districts, there's a lot more. In our district, it didn't go up that much.
Okay.
From last year.
I was just wondering, is it because of the pandemic that they want to homeschool? I'm just trying to figure this out.
Yeah, so I think there was some confusion in the beginning because there were people who didn't realize that they could keep their kids home and still attend our remote learning options. So they thought if they kept their kids home, they'd have to homeschool. And I had a number of conversations with families about that, saying, listen, like if you homeschool, that means you have the responsibility of planning and designing all of the lessons, all of the curriculum. You have to pay for it. But you can access our remote learning and try it out. And if it doesn't meet your needs, we can always talk. And none of those people, they tried out the remote learning and none of them came back wanting to come out. So, I think we put a lot of effort into our remote learning plan. And I think people are, while it's not perfect, I think it's, letting professional teachers do the teaching is a comfort for a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to figure it out. If we're having a problem because of the pandemic, getting these people to stay home and homeschool, trying to figure out if we can ask them why they don't want to do why they want to do the homeschooling instead of the
Yeah. I
virtual.
can tell you this particular family, she was very nice and very respectful. And for her particular child, being in front of that screen all day isn't really working for them. She had excellent things to say about the school, excellent things to say about the teacher. She said the teacher is very knowledgeable. She's doing the best that she can, but she wanted to be able to have like live in-person instruction. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Roberto, you had a question?
Yeah, that was actually my question was around the last piece. I just wanted to know if we had like any sense of around why they were requesting this, and I'm curious if you have any insights as to whether after we return to full in person they would come back.
So we had two of the cases that I shouldn't say cases, two of the students that we approved last month are going to be coming back next year. They've already said that. Of the 11 that we approved, I want to say 7 of them are all like annual customers, if you will.
Yeah.
So they've been doing it every year. We got one new one that is a first grader. And I'm not sure she's going to see how it goes, but she's on the fence on that one. We'll see. And then this one we're not sure of. I think my guess would be that once we're back in person, she would be, because her main thing was around not sitting in front of that computer at home all day. So once that goes away, I think she'll come back.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's so ironic, especially I do the early childhood, how we always encourage the parents to take screen time away from the children, and that's the only way we could now communicate with them. So hopefully one day soon we'll be back to normal. Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the homeschooling petition to move forward to the full school committee for a vote?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Do we have a second? Ms. Garcia, are you on? Do you need a second?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're gonna move on. Sarah, did you have a presentation for us?
Yes, so the quarter is just ending, and I wanted to give you an update on our standards-based report card. It has moved forward into second grade. We started it last year in first grade, and we're moving it up with the children into second grade. Normally, if we were in person, I would hand one out to everybody and we could all look at it and feel it. So instead, I've created a little bit of a presentation with some screenshots and stuff for you to see. But just so you know, it is a nice little booklet that people will have. Let me share my screen and just a quick thing. But instead of you being able to hold it, I figure it would be better if you could at least see. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. I am going to go into present mode just so that it's a little cleaner for you. So please feel free to ask questions at any time. The quarter has ended on 11/20. So grades 3 through 12 are still on quarters, and report cards are being mailed home to all kids. Middle school and high school are this week, and next week will be grades 3 and 4. And then grades 1 and 2, as part of the standards-based report card, we have moved to trimesters with grades 1 and 2, which has been very, very successful and very popular. And that trimester actually ends tomorrow. So those report cards will be going home the week of January 4th. And within that mailing, there will also be progress notes for students with disabilities, and also progress notes for English learners. So we're trying to combine it all into one mailing so that they would receive all of their documents at once. So as I was
Sarah,
saying,
before you move on, sorry. So this will be the first report card they're receiving for this school year.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So the standards-based report card has a couple of key points. I know that I've shared this with you about a year ago, but it's been a long time and we have some new members, and I just thought I would hit the highlights for you. So it was created by a team of teachers, coaches, and administrators. Some of the best parts about it is that it's translated. It's color coded, which I'll show you some pictures in a minute. There's also a paragraph on the front down here. If the student has a disability and has an IEP, it reminds the teacher, the parent, that this is a report card based on grade level standards, and they should look also at their IEP progress notes to see how their student is progressing on their goals. It also includes comments, as most do, but there includes goals. So it talks about the child, but it also talks about some things to work on. And it's based upon data, right? So we'll talk about how that works, but it's not so much just the teacher giving a grade, but it's based on how they're doing on assessments and things.
Sarah, can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
For the goals, are you referring to IEP goals?
No, I'm referring to goals, and I'll show you an example of some, but I'm referring to like read every night or practice your.
Oh, got it. Okay.
That was the things that they could work on with their parents. So standards-based is based upon the curriculum frameworks from DESE in the different subjects, but it's based on end of the year. So the idea is measuring the child's performance against how they'll have an outcome at the end of the year. So as you can see, there are 4 different levels that a child could receive. They're working below the standard, they're working toward the standard, they're on track to meet the standard at the end of the year, or they met the standard. And so green means they're progressing the way that they should be. By the end of the year, they're on track to meet that standard at the end of the year. If it's something that we only teach for part of the year, they might receive a blue meet the standard in the middle of the year, but in general, that would be at the end of the year in June. So it's a little bit different. Instead of saying I got an A and I'm done right now with this part, it's are you on track to meet the end of the year standard that you're expected to meet in your grade level? That makes sense?
Can I ask you 2 follow-up questions?
Mhm.
One, I really like, I think parents are gonna take a bit to get adjusted to like the non-norm grades, right?
Yep.
Letters. However, I do like the fact that there isn't an F, right? Like that really does something to kids in a positive way. We're not seeing an F, so I really appreciate that. I guess I had a comment, not a question, but my second question is, how does this translate to GPA? Like, is there?
So right now we're only in grades 1 and 2. So when we get to the high school, we will have that issue to deal with. There are various ways to tackle it, but basically it has to be translated into a number.
Okay.
So here's an example, just to show you what it would look like. This is math. T1, 2, and 3 is trimester 1, trimester 2, trimester 3. You'll notice that these are the standards that kids are supposed to be working on. And you'll notice that some of the boxes are grayed out, which means that, for example, in trimester 1 in mathematics, we're only teaching major standards. We don't get to the minor supporting standards yet. So they're grayed out because we didn't teach those yet. We'll be teaching those, as you can see, in trimester 2 and 3.
Sarah, I'm so sorry. I feel like I have a question for every freaking thing. I'm so sorry. For each page, will the key also follow each page for parents?
So key is actually on one of the, prominently in the middle. It's not on each it's not on each page now.
Okay.
So just to show you, this is growth based, right? So we want to see how kids are growing over time. So you can see that, for example, this child reading informational text, asks and answers questions about text. Trimester 1, we're not in trimester 2 yet, but this is just showing you how it would work, was working toward the standard, meaning was a little bit not progressing as quickly as we would have wanted. But in second trimester, they were on track to meet the standard. So hopefully in trimester 3, this would be blue, which would have been meet the standard at the end of the year. So that's like shows the growth over time. Like this is a big growth from working below the standard to on track. And you can see here, they're working toward the standard in both trimesters. So therefore, one of the goals you can see for the trimester would be answer questions in response to reading, which connects to these 2 standards here that the student would want to improve upon. So the whole idea here is that it's going to foster ongoing communication and partnership between teachers and parents so that we can talk about how is your student progressing, how are they growing, and how can both the teachers and the parents work together to support the student. So the other sections, I showed you math, but the other sections on the report card include this list here. And for the Caminos, you'll notice that there is in the English language arts section, they are receiving a rating for both in English and in Spanish, which I know is strange because Espanol starts with E, but we worked on that really hard, but this is the best we came up with for now. So they're getting 2 grades, whereas if you look back here, they receive, the translation is there's 1 grade with translation on either side. For Caminos, it has 2 grades, 1 for English, 1 for Spanish. I'm almost done, but just to show you the comments and the goals. So this is just an example. They are drop-down menus, but the teachers created long lists of options that they can pick from, but they come from 3 different categories for the classroom teacher: attitude, work habits, and effort, which does also align. You'll notice back here, sorry, in this list, there's social emotional learning here based on the CASEL standards. And then also in the comments, there it's attitude, work habits, and effort. And then usually there's some comments from one of the specialist teachers. This one happens to be from art. And then there's a couple of goals that the teacher chooses to say that this is what the child should really focus on working on for next trimester. So we've had a lot of support for teachers around this. We've had a lot of professional learning time, a lot of training on the mindset that you're going to be thinking about whether this child is going to meet the standard at the end of the year. We also had to train them on the technical aspects of how to do this in our Aspen, our system. We've had office hours, we've had other collaboration time. We have a website set up for them with all kinds of support documents, which has been great. We also have done some support with parents. We had a co-design table where we pulled some parents and asked them, what is the best way to help parents understand this? So they're working on creating a video. Teachers and parents together are going to create a little video that can go out when the report card's mailed home first week of January, that principals and things will put on Class Dojo and things. It'll be in both English and Spanish, just talking about how it's different from typical report cards and things. We've also had lots of parent-teacher conferences. And again, they're being mailed home because we want to make sure that they're received, especially during the pandemic. Can't stick them in a backpack right now. So any other questions or comments?
So
Sorry.
Rosemary's
Go ahead,
here.
Rosemary.
Okay, thank you. So they're not going to have PTO. They're not going to be able to do it. So they're going to go on a Zoom so they can talk to the teacher one by one, or is it all in a group?
So the conferences are basically one by one.
One by one. Okay, so if a parent has any problem and asks questions on the report cards, the teacher will have a one-on-one with the parent so they can get all their questions answered, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, because you said last year you did the first grade and this year we added second. So really the parents, the second grade parents this year have seen this before. So they
Yes,
have some.
Yep. And so now we're
experience with it.
breaking in a new set of first grade parents. But also the hard part, to be completely honest, is that the first grade parents last year, and that are now second grade parents, did this first trimester and second trimester. We squeaked it out right before the pandemic,
Mhm.
but they never got to see the end of the year growth, right? So they haven't seen the whole thing. So we're hoping to get them, through the whole thing this year.
Any other questions for Ms. Kent?
So the plan is next year we'll be doing both third and fourth grade, so that we'll get the whole elementary school on done. And then we'll move on from there.
But the third and fourth, are you still getting numbers? Is that the way?
Yes, right now they're still getting.
Still getting numbers. And does it change in middle school? I forgot.
In middle school, they start getting grades.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. If we don't have any other questions, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Sorry, team, I got booted off, but I guess I'm seconding.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Ms. Garcia. Okay, hi guys. So it is 6 p.m. I'm going to call the Policy and Procedures meeting to order. The chair for this subcommittee is Marisol Santiago, but she couldn't be here and she did ask me to chair for her. So this is why I am chairing this evening. So first thing on the agenda is policy for children and youth and foster care. Who is?
I am going to share my screen again.
Okay.
So we have a need for a policy for children and youth in foster care. Let me maximize this. So this is a short policy, but it came to our attention that this is a requirement and we don't currently have this policy in place. So I'll just simply read it. It's pretty simple. This is currently in draft form. Children and youth in foster care are children or youth who receive 24-hour substitute care and are placed away from their parents or guardians and for whom a child welfare agency has placement and care responsibility. This includes, but is not limited to, placements in foster family homes, foster homes of relatives, group homes, emergency shelter, residential facilities, child care institutions, and pre-adoptive homes. Children and youth are entitled to remain at their school of origin, the school in which a child is enrolled at the time of placement in foster care, unless a determination is made that is not in the child's best interest. Transportation for such children will be provided and arranged through a collaboration with child welfare agencies to ensure that children, youth in foster care have access to education and extracurricular activities. So to sort of summarize what all that means, it's sort of similar to how we approach homeless students through the McKinney-Vento Act. So the reality is that we want to make decisions based on what's best for kids. So oftentimes, if you're moving around from, say, Chelsea to Revere to Everett and so on, all that movement is not good for the kids' education. So if it turns out that a Chelsea student goes into foster care for whatever reason and is in the care of someone who lives in, say, for example, Revere, they would have similar rights to the McKinney-Vento kids so that they would be able to continue to go to school in their origin district. And then you work out the transportation costs just like we would with McKinney. So we split the cost between the two districts. The only difference with this is they have a little bit less of power as compared to McKinney-Vento, because the district has authority to make a decision around the child's best interest. There's actually a best interest process that you go through to determine, for example, it could be that, you know, the district that they're living in currently is really far away. So to put a kid through like a long travel each day wouldn't be in the kid's best interest. So if a kid lived in, say, Framingham, we might say that it's not in the best interest of the kid to continue to come to school in Chelsea.
So should that be included in the policy that, you know, depending where they're placed, to be something
Yeah,
more
so there-
concrete?
There's a long process, a long document on the DESE website that includes the determination for best interest. So it's and you know, unless a determination is made that is not in the child's best interest, there are a number of factors that might play in. It's not just the location.
Okay. So would that be put in the policy? So, because you said there's a number of explanations, so is there somewhere within this policy that we could go to reference it? Just, you know.
Yeah, I could add the link to the DESE site there. I can say, like, for more information.
Mhm.
And I'll grab the link and find it as we talk.
Okay. But we're not voting on this today. You're just bringing it as a draft form. We're not moving it.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping to see if we could move it towards a vote in January.
For the January meeting, okay. Does anybody else have any questions, comments on this?
We have to bring it to the full committee?
In January, yes.
Okay.
Hey, Adam, quick question. Do we have a number on how many, and apologies if you included this or have said this, but do you have a number of how many students we have in the districts that are in foster care?
No, but I could find that out for you.
Okay, thank you.
So, but prior to actually having a policy, a written out policy, we were practicing the same things that you're including here.
That's correct. Yeah, we've been following this. This is this is on the DESE website as well. Iroska Murillo is in charge of all of the foster care as well as the students in McKinney-Vento. So she is extremely knowledgeable about all these processes, and she's our DCF contact person for the district. So she has been working with all of these cases. We just it just came to our attention that there should be a policy in place. In full disclosure, I went through about 12 different districts' policy books, and there was only one district of those 12 that actually had the policy. So we're not the only ones that didn't have it in place. And this was the policy that I found. I just changed the wording around a little bit, fixed some grammatical errors.
Any other questions about the policy? No? Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, do we have a motion to accept the recommended policy to move forward to the full school committee for a vote?
I make a motion to move it to the full committee for a vote, please.
Do I have
I
a second?
second.
Okay,
All right.
no objection, motion passes. So next, we're gonna, do you have any final things to say, Mr. Delaney?
No, just I'll get that link up there, and
Okay.
that'll be the only change. So we'll bring it to the full committee from there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is diversity hiring policy.
Great, so that's me. I will share my screen. All right. One second. So through listening sessions, we discovered that staff and the wider CPS community are concerned regarding the diversity of our workforce. Through Dr. Abeda's work in Somerville, we were able to develop a diversity hiring policy that we are excited to share with you today. The goal of this policy is to ultimately further set in stone our commitment to diversity, diversifying our staff, because we need the best people of all backgrounds to educate our students. The more diversity we have, the more creativity and ingenuity that we will gain, because the diverse perspectives each person brings impacts the work. Furthermore, research aligns with student improvement of student outcomes. This policy outlines that at least 2 qualified candidates at minimum will be considered for each position. HR will be in charge of monitoring hiring practices at each school. We are also committing to provide staff demographic data to the school committee, which we have started to do this year. For today's process, I would love for you all to review this policy. I'm going to give you opportunity to read it. And then my one question for you all is, are there any noticings that we need to be aware of, or any blind spots? All right, so I'm going to give opportunity to read the policy now.
And Aaron, were there any, if I may, were there any changes from, because we brought this to HR, and
Yes.
then we got feedback from district leadership and from teachers. So was there any changes to the policy as a result of that, now that you have this one in place?
Thank you for that insight. As it relates to the DLT, they gave us some very good insight and feedback that will all go in towards the presentation that Christine and I will be delivering in the spring semester, kind of the operationalizing this policy. So the DOT team focus on their feedback, focus on operationalizing the policy.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've been rambling and I was muted. Any questions for Dr. Jennings? I have I was thinking, because before we always used to hear that minorities were not applying for like teacher positions and higher positions. Is that, what are you seeing now as far as applications coming into the district? Are you seeing more diverse applicants?
I am not privy to that right now, Chris. You know, obviously Christine couldn't make it to be here today. What I can say is that the pipeline program that was developed under her auspices has increased. And I will say that myself, Christine, along with 3 other colleagues, are working on teacher recruitment and retention for teachers of color.
Thank you. I can add to that. Thank you, Dr. Jennings. I think Dr. Jennings is absolutely right. Through our recruitment efforts, we've definitely been able to increase our teaching cadre and diversify, and we're continuing to reach out. But we are seeing through our recruitment and our programs more diverse candidates coming through, but it's been very intentional outreach and recruitment.
And so my question to you all, do you notice anything? Is anything missing from this, or do we have any blind spots?
I think it looks good. I'm just trying to figure out, do we need to talk to Christine about how we're reaching out to the community, the Black community, and Latino community? Do we go to colleges and find out who's graduating from teaching, you know, and see if they want to come into Chelsea? How do you do this?
Yeah, well, all great statements. I actually have on my roster right now a listing of historically Black colleges and universities in the Northeast, as well as historically, as well as Hispanic serving institutions, where I want to see if at all possible that we can jump into some of their virtual career hiring sessions. And I will also say that I think it was just today that I wasn't able to attend, that Christine and 3 other colleagues, one other district leader and 2 leaders at the respective school had a meeting on today. So I don't know the ins and outs of that meeting yet.
Okay,
But
thank you.
absolutely true.
Thank you, Dr. J.
Yes, ma'am. I like that, Ms. Rosemary.
So are we also moving this policy for vote, full school committee vote?
Yes.
Okay. Can I make one request?
Yes,
Can we
ma'am.
get both this policy and the foster care policy emailed to us, but within this week or next week and not right before
We'll
the
take,
school committee? Because I know some members, they're not here. I think they would be very interested just to look it over before and not get it a few days right before the meeting, if possible. Okay, so do we have a motion to move forward the diversity policy to the full school committee for a vote?
Motion.
Do I have
I
a
second it.
second?
A second.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. Any other questions? I have a comment that Marisol wanted me to share with you guys. So in the last subcommittee meeting, Kelly brought up on renaming the ELC building. So Marisol did talk to Cheryl, the city solicitor, and she said we need to coordinate a new date with the subcommittee to review the remaining policy and allow all members to ask questions. So that's looking, you know, for the new year of revisiting what Kelly had brought to the table, but making sure that we review all policies and that all school committee members are at the subcommittee meeting. And she will keep us posted of that particular meeting for January. And that is it that I had. Anything else? No?
Thanks so much, Ms. Velez. I'd like before leaving, Dr. J, thank you for all of your energy and positive energy that you've been putting towards this diversity policy. I really, really appreciate you and your work. It is needed. Our students need to see more representation. And so I just wanted to just thank you for all that you're doing. And for Ms. Santiago, thank you for bringing that up to the table again. And I look forward to having those conversations.
Okay. There isn't anything else. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I amend
Motion.
the motion.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So we have the
Second.
motion and the second at the same time.
second.
Alrighty, team. Have a great night, everyone.